Welcome to Slash Forward. In this video, we're going to zip through Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge. Let's get to it. This one opens in a German laboratory in Berlin, 1941. Major Kraus, doing his best to pull off a German accent by adding some V's and Z's to his words, is checking the progress of Dr. Hess, who's performing some classic Nazi medicine. He's looking for a way to create a zombie frontline capable of absorbing some punishment for the troops, but he appears to have failed again, and is on the verge of receiving some of that old Hitlerian justice, when they're all surprised to discover he was temporarily successful. Great work! Unfortunately, the celebration is more violent than one would want, and maybe just an ice cream cake next time. We then cut to Toulon, performing a dangerous work of satire for some kids in which a six-armed cowboy makes Adolf dance like a little bitch. The children disperse, fully satisfied. Then this Aryan approaches and creeps everyone out by impersonating a human-sized penis. As a fellow puppeteer, he's interested in the stringless technique employed. He also makes some veiled threats about the show's content and then leaves. He creeps to the window and whips out his camera, surprising no one. Inside, they say some stuff, and then Wiener Boy runs off to tattle, believing he's stumbled upon the missing element they've been looking for in the reanimation project. This comes at a perfect time as Kraus begins putting the pressure on Dr. Hess, who's forced to play his ace card and bring the general into it. The general happens to be engaged in German bathhouse activities at the time, receiving a humid, leg-spread rubdown. He gives Dr. Hess authority to pursue an investigation of Toulon, unmolested. When they try to uncover his secrets, Elsa steps in and incurs the wrath of the SS. Kraus shows restraint at Dr. Hess's insistence, but when Elsa spits in his face, he has an excuse to satisfy his bloodlust. Now, with nothing left to lose, and likely headed to a Nazi prison, Toulon allows his puppets to express their true nature, and they immediately begin choking and burrowing, allowing Toulon to escape. In a somewhat confusing sequence, Kraus learns of his failure but doesn't return to the theater until the next morning. Toulon is not there, and they burn down possibly just the puppet stage. You'd think Toulon has already fled, but then he shows up shortly after. Toulon, refreshed by his rage, resolves to let no offender of this transgression go unpunished. He vows no mercy and plenty of leeches. With a clear goal ahead of them, the puppets converge on the morgue like a miniature wooden troop of inglorious bastards. They promptly garrote the coroner and then begin to take a sample from Elsa. Another medical technician shows up. Since he poses no real threat, they give Happy a chance to experiment with his violent side, as he sticks some good and tastes his first blood. They slip into the darkness and use their sample to animate the Elsa doll, completing the trick by feeding her a leech. They then immediately go out in search of blood.
Have your asshole ready.
But I thought satire was unacceptable. In retaliation for this bad joke, Tiny wrenches his face a bit and Elsa regurgitates a leech, which is gross for sure, but it's not totally clear how this kills. Meanwhile, Dr. Hess is getting railroaded.
This is nothing. There's no progress here.
It was a reanimated body. Hess is saved again when Kraus learns of Lieutenant Stein's death. They manage to find the temporary workshop somehow, and Kraus baby rages all over the place. Toulon finds a new hideout and then walks the streets in disguise. He takes a detour through the red light district, where the ladies are known to wave the white flag, if you know what I mean. Do you? Cause I have no idea. Our gunslinger demonstrates the advantage of extra arms as he adeptly scales the building and manages to blast the general despite losing an arm. The general is then gracious enough to jump out the window, finishing the job. Toulon gets some visitors in his hovel, a young newsie named Peter and his father, who had to flee the Gestapo and are now playing picnic.
You like this, don't you, boy?
Yes, it's been a lot of fun.
You ignorant slut. Despite their best efforts to quell young Peter's wanderlust, he goes off in search of adventure, hoping to find the parts Toulon needs to repair his puppets and become a puppeteer's apprentice. Unfortunately, he arrives at the workshop around the same time Dr. Hess comes to see if there are any extra secrets lying about. Just one, and his name's Peter. The doctor immediately begins to manipulate the young, impressionable simpleton and convinces him to lead them to Toulon. Luckily, Dr. Hess really does have reverence for Toulon, seeing the majesty in his work. We find out that the reanimation works best when imposed upon a willful spirit. Each of the puppets have been endowed with the essence of one of his friends killed by the Nazis. Peter's father, looking to earn his family's freedom, has led soldiers back to the hideout. However, Toulon and the gang are still in fighting mode, and the first soldier gets bricked in the face. The puppets go crazy on the rest, taking them out one by one in their own way. Dr. Hess spends a little too long staring at this injured soldier and gets gutted for his effort. The rest of the group barely manages to make it out. Peter shows up and pledges allegiance to the murderous cause, and we find ourselves back at Kraus's office. His puppet is there, somehow. It's not clear whose soul it has. Anyway, they act like Kraus opened the lament configuration, hooking his limbs and hanging him over an axe before lighting the rope on fire and letting nature take its course. Toulon takes off after that, presumably for Bodega Bay. And that's Puppet Master 3, the backstory. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.